She took her final breath, but fate sent a human instead of death. Whispers in the ashes. Nyara pressed her palm against the wound in her side, blue, luminescent blood seeping between her fingers. The irony wasn't lost on her, a healer unable to save herself. Around her, the once magnificent spires of Lumina City lay in ruins, toppled by the galactic purge that had swept across Selene like wildfire. The air tasted of ash and silence. She slumped against a crumbled wall, her silver-flecked skin dimming as her life force ebbed. The neural network that connected all Selenians had gone silent hours ago. No one knew she was here. No one was coming. Nyara tilted her head to the purple-hued sky. The twin moons of her world hung like silent witnesses to the devastation below. She closed her eyes, accepting the inevitable. The universe had spoken and her time was ending. "Hello, is anyone alive down there?" The voice, rough, unfamiliar, jolted her from the edge of consciousness. Her third eyelid fluttered open, the translucent membrane revealing a silhouette against the dying light. A human, one of the beings that her people had been warned about for generations. Commander Jace Mercer scanned the ruins again, frowning at his bioreader. The signal was stronger now, pulsing with a rhythm that didn't match any human life signs he'd ever encountered. He shouldn't even be here. The Terran Coalition had explicitly forbidden unsanctioned exploration of Selenian territory after the recent conflict. "If anyone can hear me, I'm here to help," he called, adjusting his exosuit settings to filter the particulate-heavy air. His commanding officer would have his rank for this unauthorized detour, but something about that distress signal had pulled at him like a physical force. He rounded a fallen column and froze. There, half hidden in the shadows, lay a Selenian. Female, based on the crown of crystalline formations curving back from her forehead. And dying, based on the pool of bioluminescent fluid spreading beneath her. Nyara hissed weakly as the human approached, summoning what little strength she had left to appear threatening. "Stay back," she managed in halting universal standard. "Your kind has done enough." Jace raised his hands, palms forward. "I'm not with the military strike force. I'm Commander Jace Mercer, Science Division. I picked up your distress signal." "I sent no signal," she whispered, confusion momentarily overriding her fear. He knelt beside her, medical scanner already whirring in his hand. "Well, something did, and it's a good thing too." His eyes, a shade of brown Nyara had never seen before, assessed her professionally. "You're bleeding out, may I?" Before she could protest, he had already opened his medkit and was applying a healing membrane to her wound. The synthetic tissue immediately bonded with her skin, sending coolness through her superheated veins. "This will stabilize you temporarily, but you need proper treatment. I have better equipment on my ship." He reached for her arm. The moment his skin touched hers, the world exploded into light. Jace gasped as images flooded his mind. A childhood on crystalline shores, years of training in empathic healing arts, the terror of watching cities fall. Memories not his own poured through him like liquid fire. Nyara experienced the same, flashes of Earth's towering cities, the academy where Jace had trained, his rebellion against orders when he'd heard rumors of civilian casualties on Selene. A lifetime of experiences in seconds. They broke apart, staring at each other in shock. What was that?" Jace whispered, his heart hammering against his ribs. Nyara's eyes widened, the violet irises brightening with sudden recognition. The echoing, a legend, when two souls from different worlds share a singular purpose, their minds may touch across the void. She studied him with newfound intensity. But it hasn't happened in 1,000 years. Before Jace could respond, his scanner beeped urgently. Multiple signals approaching, military grade. He helped her to her feet. "Can you walk? We need to move." "The wound is sealed, but I am weak," she admitted. "Where would we go? Your people and mine both want us dead now." "Not dead, just contained." Jace supported her weight as they navigated through the rubble. "There's an old temple complex 2 kilometers north that might shield our signals. We can regroup there." They moved in tense silence, each processing what had just occurred between them. Nyara could still feel echoes of Jace's thoughts, his determination, his compassion, his guilt over what his people had done to hers. It was disorienting to suddenly know a stranger so intimately. The temple rose before them, ancient stone carved with symbols that predated both their civilizations. Weathered statues depicted pairs of figures, one clearly Selenian, the other resembling humans, standing with joined hands. "The ancients," Nyara breathed, recognition flooding through her. "This is a convergence temple." Jace helped her inside, settling her against a wall before securing the entrance. Convergence. An ancient belief that our species were meant to evolve together, not apart. She gestured weakly to the carvings. "The prophecy speaks of two who would bridge the divide when both worlds faced extinction." As her fingers traced the symbols, they began to glow with faint blue light. The entire chamber hummed with sudden energy. Jace stared as the floor beneath them illuminated, revealing an intricate map of the galaxy with pulsing points of light. "That's Earth, and there's Selene." He pointed to 2 brightly glowing markers. "And these other points?" "Nexus points, places of power where the ancient technology still functions." Nyara's strength was returning, her wound healing faster than should have been possible. "Jace, I don't think our meeting was an accident." "You think we're part of this prophecy? That seems impossible." She managed a small smile. "More impossible than the mental connection we just shared." Before he could answer, his communicator crackled to life. "Commander Mercer, this is Captain Hadley. Your transponder has been tracked to a restricted zone. Return to your vessel immediately for disciplinary action." Simultaneously, the temple's walls vibrated as a Selenian communication rippled through the stone, a message Nyara alone could understand. "The human collaborator has been located. All citizens are ordered to report sightings to the Restoration Guard." Their eyes met in shared understanding. There would be no going back to their former lives. "My ship is hidden in the eastern ravine," Jace said, helping her stand. "If we reach it, we might make it to the drift, neutral territory where neither of our governments has jurisdiction." "They will never stop hunting us," Nyara warned, but there was a new resolve in her voice. "Not if we truly are the key to the convergence." Jace checked his weapons and offered her his hand. This time, the mental connection was less shocking, a gentle flow of thoughts and emotions rather than an overwhelming flood. "Then we better make sure we're worth chasing," he said with a grim smile. "Ready to see the stars, healer." Nyara took his hand, feeling strength flow between them. "Lead the way, Commander." They emerged from the temple to the sound of approaching ships. Selenian light cruisers and Terran patrol vessels converged from opposite directions, former enemies now united in their pursuit. "Run!" Jace pulled her forward as the first shots traced lines of energy across the darkening sky. Together they raced through the ruins of a dead city, 2 beings from worlds apart, bound by something older and more powerful than the hatred that had nearly destroyed them both. Behind them, the temple pulsed with increasing light, as if awakening after millennia of slumber. The prophecy had begun. Bonds of stardust. The Epsilon Nebula stretched before them like an artist's nightmare, swirling clouds of crimson and violet gas interspersed with asteroid fields and unstable wormholes. Nyara pressed her palm against the viewport of Jace's ship, the Wayfarer, mesmerized by the chaotic beauty. "Is it always this vibrant?" she asked, her silver-flecked skin reflecting the nebula's colors. Jace's hands danced across the control panel, his focus split between navigation and the pursuit vessels that had followed them through 3 star systems. "Only during the stellar alignment. We got lucky, or unlucky, depending on how you look at it. The radiation interferes with long-range scanners, but it also makes flying through here a suicide mission for anyone who doesn't know the safe corridors. And you know them. Nyara raised an eyebrow, the crystalline formations on her forehead catching the light. His smile was equal parts confidence and recklessness. I mapped most of them myself during my research expeditions, before I became a glorified fugitive, that is. The ship shuddered as a distant explosion sent a shock wave through the nebula. One of their pursuers had misjudged the gravitational pull of a collapsed star. "They're willing to die to capture us," Nyara said softly. "Why does the prophecy frighten them so much?" Jace engaged the stealth systems, the Wayfarer's exterior panels shifting to mimic the nebula's coloration. "Power," he glanced at her. "The convergence threatens everything both our governments have built. The divisions, the militaries, the control. It all crumbles if people believe we're meant to coexist." The ship drifted silently through a narrow corridor of stable space, the pursuing vessels growing distant on the scanners. For the first time since their escape from Selene 3 days ago, they had a moment to breathe. Nyara moved to the small medical bay, examining her side. The wound had healed completely, leaving only a faint pattern of silvery lines. Faster than possible, even for a Selenian. "May I?" Jace asked from the doorway, gesturing to her healed injury. She nodded, watching as he scanned the area with his medical device. When his fingers brushed her skin, the now familiar connection bloomed between them, gentler this time, more controlled. She could feel his scientific curiosity, his concern, and something deeper that neither of them had acknowledged. "Your cellular regeneration is off the charts," he said, his voice slightly rough. "And there's evidence of human DNA integrating with your own." "The same is happening to you," she replied, touching the faint silver specks that had appeared on his forearms. "The echoing isn't just mental, it's physical. We're changing each other." Their eyes met, and neither looked away. In the privacy of the small ship, surrounded by the protective veil of the nebula, the barriers between them had begun to dissolve. Nyara had glimpsed enough of his mind to know that Jace felt the pull between them as strongly as she did. "The ancestral text spoke of this," she said, breaking the charged silence. "When the convergence begins, the two become more than themselves, neither fully one species nor the other, but something new." Jace's scanner beeped, interrupting the moment. "We're approaching Nexus Station. If anyone knows more about the convergence, we'll find them there." Nexus Station hung in the void like a massive wheel, its spokes extending to docking bays that accommodated vessels from across the known galaxy. Built in the ruins of an ancient structure, it existed outside traditional jurisdiction, a trading post and sanctuary for those seeking to avoid official attention. They docked in the lower levels, where questions were few and bribes were accepted in any currency. Jace had contacts here from his scientific expeditions, people who operated in the gray areas between legality and lawlessness. "Radek owes me a favor," Jace explained as they moved through crowded corridors lit by mismatched lighting panels. "He trades in information and artifacts from pre-war civilizations. If anyone knows about the Convergence temples, it's him." Radek's establishment was nestled between a spice merchant and a cybernetic repair shop. The interior smelled of exotic incense and old books, a rarity in the digital age. The owner, a lanky man with cybernetic enhancements covering half his face, greeted Jace with surprised recognition. "Mercer, heard you'd fallen afoul of the Coalition," his augmented eye word as it focused on Nyara, "and with a Selenian no less. You always did like to complicate your life." "We need information, Radek, about the Convergence temples and the prophecy." The man's expression sobered. "Dangerous knowledge these days. Both your governments have placed bounties on anyone trafficking in that particular bit of history." He gestured for them to follow him through a hidden door. "But for you, I'll risk it." The back room was a treasure trove of artifacts, fragments of ancient technology, star charts from lost civilizations, and holographic text suspended in preservation fields. Radix activated a secure terminal. The convergence theory dates back 15,000 years, he explained, displaying images of temples identical to the one they'd found on Selene. Supposedly, humans and Selenians evolved from the same ancestral species, seeded across different worlds by the progenitors. That's impossible, Jace argued. Our biologies are too different. Are they? Radix looked pointedly at the silver specks on Jace's skin and the increasingly human-like coloration appearing in patches on Nyara's. The prophecy speaks of two who would reunite the divided halves. Through them, the separation would end, and the cycle of conflict would break. Nyara stepped forward, examining the ancient text. There's more here than what I learned in our histories. It says the final temple lies at coordinates hidden within the first. The temple on Selene, Jace realized. The map we saw. The door burst open. 3 figures in unmarked combat gear stormed in, weapons raised. "Don't move," ordered the leader. "By authority of the Joint Task Force, you're both under arrest." Radix's cybernetic eye flashed in what might have been apology. "Sorry, Mercer. The bounty was too high." Jace moved in front of Nyara, his hand reaching for his concealed blaster. "Radix, you know what they'll do to us." "I know what they'll do to me if I don't cooperate," Radix countered, backing away. What happened next occurred too quickly for normal perception. As the soldiers advanced, the connection between Jace and Nyara flared like a supernova. They moved in perfect synchronization, his combat training and her empathic abilities merging into something formidable. Nyara sensed the soldiers' intentions before they acted. Left, right, center, she projected to Jace, who responded with precision. A shot from his blaster disabled the first attacker's weapon. Nyara's telekinetic push, a rarely used Selenian ability now enhanced by their bond, sent the second crashing into a display case. The third managed to fire, the energy bolt grazing Jace's shoulder. Pain lanced through both of them, their shared nervous systems registering the injury as one. Nyara's cry became a focused blast of psychic energy that rendered the final soldier unconscious. Radix stared in shock. "That's not possible. Selenians can't project energy like that." "We need to go," Jace said, clutching his wounded shoulder. "Is there another way out?" Recovering from his surprise, Radix nodded toward a service tunnel. "That leads to the lower docks. Take this." He tossed Jace a data crystal. "Coordinates for all known convergence sites. Maybe I'll see you on the other side of history." They fled through maintenance corridors as alarms blared throughout the station. Nyara supported Jace, their shared pain making movement difficult but their combined strength keeping them ahead of pursuers. "The final temple," Jace said through gritted teeth as they reached the lower docking bay. "If Radix's information is right, it's located in the Veil, the boundary region between our territories." "No wonder no one's found it," Nyara replied, helping him into an unmarked shuttle. "The Veil has been a demilitarized zone for centuries. Both our governments enforce the separation." As they disengaged from the station, the shuttle's scanners showed multiple vessels converging on their position, Terran and Selenian ships flying together in unprecedented cooperation. "Setting course for the Veil," Jace announced, transferring Radix's coordinates to the navigation system. "If we're going to die, let's make it mean something." The shuttle jumped to hyperspace, the stars stretching into lines of light around them. In the momentary peace, Nyara examined Jace's wound, her healing abilities flowing through their connection to accelerate his recovery. "When I first saw you on Selene," she said quietly, "I thought you had come to finish what your people started." He met her gaze, the depth of their connection making words almost unnecessary. "And now?" "Now I understand why the prophecy was feared for so long." Her hand found his. "What we represent isn't just peace between our worlds, it's evolution. Change." The shuttle emerged from hyperspace into the swirling cosmic dust of the veil. Ahead floated a massive structure unlike any temple they had seen, a crystalline fortress suspended in space, pulsing with ancient energy. The Nexus Temple, Nyara breathed, the center point of all convergent sites. Their pursuers would not be far behind. Jace guided the shuttle toward the temple's entrance, a gateway that seemed to shift and change as they approached, as if testing their intentions. "Whatever happens," he said, squeezing her hand, "I don't regret finding you." The shuttle passed through the gateway, settling in a vast chamber that defied the temple's external dimensions. The walls were inscribed with the complete prophecy, images of destruction followed by renewal, separation followed by union. At the center stood two crystalline pillars, one emanating the warm golden light of Earth's sun, the other the cool lavender glow of Selene's atmosphere. Their bodies moved instinctively, drawn to the pillars by forces older than their civilizations. As they each touched a pillar, the final connection bloomed between them, not just minds or bodies, but souls merging in understanding that transcended species. Through the temple's crystalline walls, they could see the armada that had followed them, dozens of ships from both worlds, weapons primed to destroy the temple rather than allow the prophecy to be fulfilled. "They're afraid," Nyara realized, "not of us but of themselves, of what they might become if they accept change." Jace nodded, a plan forming in their shared consciousness. "Then let's show them there's nothing to fear." Together, they channeled the energy flowing between the pillars, directing it outward through the temple's ancient systems. A pulse of light expanded from the structure, washing over the assembled fleet. Inside each ship, holographic displays activated, showing the true history of their peoples, not as separate species, but as branches of the same tree, artificially divided by the progenitors as an experiment in evolution that had gone terribly wrong. The weapons powered down as the truth spread from ship to ship. The cycle of hatred that had sustained both governments began to crumble under the weight of shared history. In the heart of the temple, Nyara and Jace stood transformed, their bodies now bearing the marks of both species, silver-flecked skin and human features combined in harmony. They were the first of what both worlds could become, not through conquest but through understanding. "It's just the beginning," Jace said, looking out at the now silent fleet. "They'll resist. Old hatreds don't die easily." Nyara smiled, the wisdom of two worlds reflected in her eyes. "But they've seen what's possible now, and so have we." As if in response, the temple's energy shifted, creating a permanent beacon at the boundary between worlds, an invitation to those brave enough to seek understanding across the void. The war that had raged for generations didn't end that day, but something new began in its place, a conversation between worlds that had forgotten they once spoke the same language. And at the center of it all, two beings who were neither human nor Selenian, but something altogether new, echoes of a future where the boundaries between stars might finally fade away. Retry Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.